Everyone hates Alliance Wars, update on the Namor versus Ghost situation, and the Corvus always versus cannot critical debate continues. Hello everybody and welcome back to a new Marvel Contest of Champions news for the 10th of June 2019. We've got lots of stories to get into, but before going into the video, please help support the channel by hitting the like button as well as the subscribe button if you're new to the channel. Post notifications on please, thank you. But anyway, let's get into the news. The major news to come out of last week is the fact that Alliance Wars started up again. We had the new maps, we had the new nodes, and unfortunately the feedback hasn't been so hot. A lot of the time you don't really know whether or not some of the content is built around the player or it's just built by the developer, and then it's like, well, there you go, there's the bit of content, and then everybody gives their opinion. Unfortunately, from the beta testing, because I wasn't able to go into Alliance, I couldn't really kind of cast any kind of judgment. I kind of felt if this was the case in the iteration that we're going to see, then it really wouldn't be something that should have been put in the game in any case. Everybody's thought process on this has differed, and I was thinking to myself when it's first put in that it was going to be quite a positive thing for a lot of players, but it does seem that people are feeling quite negatively towards these things. So if you have a thought on the current Alliance Wars, it's important to give the feedback to the developer. Go to the link in the description or have your say in the comments. What do you think about the new war? Is it a case that you feel very strongly against its new changes, and as well feel that it is not as fun as maybe it should be, and the pressure, even though it seems that off, is more there based on some of the difficult or terrible nodes that you face off against? In any case, have your say in the description, link to this post. Next up, and is Wasp getting a slight nerf, or is nerfed at the moment, or damaged or bugged at the moment? It is really hard to say. The reason I bring this to your attention is that some aspects of her ability have been altered. When you look at the when attack section of her ability, it states that she's not able to interact with Cold Snap, the similar way that she interacts with a lot of different debuff effects that trigger this ability. Now the wording looks very different to that of her actual spotlight. So basically what people were trying to do is when they're going against someone like Iceman, they were trying to trigger off the when attacked, so therefore it purifies that effect. So if it's a debuff effect like Cold Snap, it shrugs it off and therefore is able to then go, right, I'm going to then apply a shock based damage on the enemy. But for whatever reason, this wording is completely different to that, but it's only been very much of late, so maybe in the recent update. Nothing's mentioned in the changelog, and even the previous month there was a Wasp related kind of sorting out, but it was to do with some other thing in particular. It wasn't anything to do with this particular thing. And for those that have a high ranked Wasp, and maybe that is a good champion that they really like, you will be relieved to know that this will be sorted out in the next update. We will try to make sure that this is indeed facilitated, but hopefully it's a case it is all sorted. In other news, and did you know that MODOK has a problem with his critical, his guaranteed critical? Yes, the joke could be that he always is guaranteed that he cannot crit. See, that's a very relevant joke at the moment. The astute among you will notice that this was April, and obviously we're in June at the moment, so what has happened? Well, it was noted at the end of April that there was indeed an issue, and that it would be resolved in the May update. But unfortunately, like a lot of bad things, it comes back to bite you on the butt, and yes, indeed, it is back again. It's not good, it's not good. Anyway, a video has been made and I'll put a link in the description just showing it, but as well, the issue is needing to be resolved, and we are now left to the point right here where we will hopefully get an answer, because a lot of people still like MODOK. I like using my MODOK from time to time. I love the way he auto blocks. I love some other elements about him. I know a lot of people really enjoy the character to put in defense, so there's a lot of options for this guy. He's quite a good attacker at the same time, and yeah, really recommend that if you get MODOK, you get him awakened, you can have some real fun with him. Now on to a follow-up story. So as you know, on Friday of last week, we covered the current issues that were being experienced by Ghost players going up against Namor. So the way that his armor works and the way it reflects back damage, it was playing real havoc with Namor and the battle with Ghost. So using Ghost will basically reflect back. Too much damage. Imagine that, like 7k damage. That's a lot to take off of you if you're facing off against the character. So what's happened? Well, a few days ago, it was a case that they were going to push a type of fix which would sort out his signature ability and the way it interacted with certain types of champions, which Let's face it, sometimes champion interaction can be fair or very unfair, but in this case, obviously for the purpose of using Ghost, the class advantage, other positive aspects, huge damage dealing, you want to use your Ghost. So therefore a fix is on the way. The extent of the fix is as follows. Summoners, later today we'll be implementing a change in the way that Namor's signature ability interacts with champions attacking him. We'll be shortening the timing window of Namor's signature ability to bring it more in line with his attack animations. This will make it easier to punish Namor without having your attack damage reflected. It will still be very risky to attack him during a combo, as the time between strikes is still very short. This fix will mostly help while attacking him after his final hit in a combo, and mostly affect champions that cause the opponent to miss. The band might goes a little bit further to kind of explain the situation a bit more by saying this is not a fix but an update to make him a little easier for players. It is live now, but let me be super clear on this. The usual Ghost method of play is not going to be good against Namor. She is not a good match against Namor. Full stop. Even after that point, there is still that criticism from players about that. I would probably say in order to just say we've got to get on with it, you're going to have to not use Ghost for this particular thing and maybe use something else in order to get yourself through. I'm hoping that there's not something like this in the future, but you never really can tell. So maybe it's best this time Ghost can go on the subs bench. In other news, and Android users, did you know that there was an update? Yeah, there was a random update which was meant to help out people that had problems logging into their accounts. So if you got an update and didn't really know what that was, if you're an Android player, this is the reason why. Next up, and in update news, following on from a story on Friday which was all about Corvus, this is a very strong debate and a very strong discussion point for those in the community. So as you know from Friday's video, which was really well supported, so I want to say thank you to everybody on that one. The main thing to point out is that the terminology between cannot overwriting always with Corvus Glaive is the issue around his criticals. Something that has impacted a few people and the way of understanding of the way it works against certain champions. Like for example, the way that it worked around Yellow Jacket this month, maybe the way it works around other champions. It's a big talking point. All around terminology, how it technically works between different champions, different nodes and different content. Shout out to Ultra for starting off this thread and obviously going into great detail about the changes in patches, the changes in updates, and the way that champions used to interact with Corvus and the way that Corvus used to crit and the way it is now. It is a very, very interesting read and you should consider reading it first before then starting going down and kind of picking up certain points. And one thing I will not be doing is going through every single little bit of responses to it, because unfortunately, like the way that most forums go, they get a bit toxic, they go a little bit disjointed, people go and end up attacking one another, and we're not really there with any decent structure. And I really do think that this thread will be shut down in a matter of days, so probably about 24 hours, this thread will probably be taken down. The main point to really take away and understand is the way that content is built. Content like Variant 2. Variant 2 has some global nodes, number one. They have local nodes, number two, and they have a champion on that node. That champion will have specific types of abilities. That champion will be on a certain node which could interact with those abilities, and there could be a kind of a global node that interacts with all three. The similar way that Alliance Wars works, and most content in general, let's be fair. But then when you're looking at certain champions that have this terminology, which looks that they can then override said content of said champions on said nodes, then you kind of go, right, well, that situation, I would use Corvus, or I would use another champion. But if it's a case of the terminology within the abilities doesn't interact with them, or maybe it's a case that it's not always, or it's against something that cannot, you then feel, right, well, I can't technically use that champion because technically that champion wouldn't work. Now this comes to a point in the game where you're probably going to yourself, this is like too overcomplicated for it than it needs to be. And that's the state of affairs where we are with the game. When the game started off, it wasn't on the level of technicality that it is today. There's so many complexities to champions and the way they interact with nodes, local nodes, the content of champions on said nodes. It's very overcomplicated than it used to be back then. So, give it a read. At the end of the day, you'll be put more of in a frame of understanding if you go down to the link in the description and go across to the thread before it closes. Next up, and let's get back to something that's a little bit more simple to grasp, because obviously that last story just blew my mind. But the fact is, what are my thoughts on the fact that Reed Richards is not going to get a beard? Well, I was wrong. Sorry about that. I guess I was wrong. I didn't see that there's a post that said that indeed on Twitter it was confirmed that Reed Richards would be getting a beard. As you can see in that image just there, no beard. But as you can see here from the interaction, he's getting a beard. And obviously I personally thank Gabe for this because I do like the look of Reed Richards with a beard. Maybe I'm just being a bit biased about the beards. And he says basically, well, it's been some time in the contest, so, you know, he would have grown a beard. So I was like, man, we'll expect the ZZ top level beard. And he reminds me that you can indeed stretch said beard. M doesn't like me with a big bushy beard. When I had to grow up for the Wolverine cosplay, no. There we have it. That has been the Marvel Contest of Champions news for Monday, the 10th of June. I was going to run a story that was about an Angela potential synergy nerf. I put the link in the description if you wanted to check it out. But more that I read through that particular story, it just seemed that it didn't really kind of make sense. And I think there's a lot of people misunderstanding stuff, and Kabam really need to get involved to explain the situation. Also, I'm not covering arena predictions at this moment today. And the reason being is I'm still serving jury duty, so I can't do fresh news on the day. It has to be done. Okay, so I've got to record this on a Sunday. But in any case, that has been the video. If you enjoyed today's Marvel Contest of Champions news, hit the like button, subscribe for more, and as always, I shall catch you in the next one. And don't forget to check out some of the other content that's posted here, and also subscribe to my two channels here, the Rich the Man channel and the Stormbreaker Gaming channel. Thanks very much, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye bye for now.